Welcome to our second segment of the whole world light in bondage of corruption, a glimpse. Look at what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah, lesbianism, and because of that, the Lord destroyed that nation. Look at what happened. Look at what happened that the daughters of Noah slept with their own father in order to have children, which was not how God designed for us to multiply on the surface of the earth, but because of our falling. Look at that. It shows that corruption everywhere. Now, let me come to religious corruption. Look at how exploitation everywhere. Look at how these corrupt religious leaders all over following religion, which is a satanic creation. Look at the corruption that they are doing. Look at corruption everywhere. Look at how they're manipulating the people. Look at how they're siphoning the people's resources. Look at how they are using the so-called holy books to manipulate the people, to steal from the people, and to use the people there as 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 sacrifices. They use the people there and turn their brain and manipulate them and use them to do some things. Some use them in the days of Europe. The religion was used as a guise for crusade. And for some other and for some other people, religion is used, and it was used as a guise for jihadism, to kill people, to kill, whether Christian crusade or Islamic jihad. They're all evidences of showing that the world is lying in the bondage of corruption everywhere. So in religion, you see how they are manipulating. If you go to Malachi, you see how priests manipulated the tithe and offering. You see how they were stealing from the people in the name of religion. In the name of religion. Now, what about, I read in the scriptures where a priest was manipulating the ruler against the prophet. A priest manipulating the ruler against the prophet, and manipulating the prophet against the ruler. That is happening. That's to show you the level of spiritual, religious corruption that you have got into. Look at how the charlatans all over, they call themselves GOs, they call themselves imams, they call themselves pastors, they call themselves general superintendent, they call themselves popes, they call themselves, look at the name they call themselves, and they are all involved in this deep corruption all over. Deep corruption. You see that all over. You see that all over. What about economic corruption? Economic corruption. You see that all over. Economic corruption. I've talked about Europe, how they have been systematically siphoning the resources in Africa. Economic corruption. How they have been killing people. How they have been equipping the people of the land with weapons to kill themselves, so that European nations could now leverage on their resources, siphon their resources, economic resources everywhere, corruption everywhere. If you go to the aspect of political corruption, it's too much. Political corruption is too much. Look at what Elon Musk discovered in America. How past leaders have been systematically corrupt. How they have used their offices to influence a lot of killings, a lot of demonic activities in other nations. And you see that it's just a glimpse of the corruption we're talking about. Look at what is happening in Finland. That you say, oh, this one is stunted as supporting those who are fighting for democracy. But you see, to show you a glimpse of corruption, the Finland is just displaying a glimpse of corruption that you see upon the surface of the world. Look at Nigeria. Look at Nigeria. Look at the executive body of Nigeria. Corrupt. Totally corrupt. They have been siphoning resources. They have been overinflating contracts. They have been manipulating a lot of things. So, with reckless abandon. Corruption everywhere. Look at the legislature, judiciary judges that are sitting there, and the common man will say the judges or the judiciary is the last hope of the common man, but has become the dead end of the common man. The dead end of the common man. And they have destroyed a lot of people. They have killed a lot of people by just their pronouncement, and they call themselves judges. No, they are not judges. They are showing a good example of the world lying in bondage of corruption. Look at what is happening in Nigeria. Look at the executive. look at the judiciary, look at the National Assembly, all engrossed, all embedded, all deep neck in corruption with reckless abandon. That should show you that the world is lying in the bondage of corruption everywhere, executive, judiciary, and all. What about institutional corruption? You see institutional corruption. What about, see how they are manipulating elections? And see how they are manipulating elections everywhere, and see how not only that African leaders are wicked manipulating elections, but they are systematically being assisted by European leaders in manipulating elections to show that the whole world is lying in the bondage of corruption. The whole world is a network of corruption, engrossing the whole world, encompassing the whole world. Institutional corruption. You see, institutional corruption, look at how corrupt ECOWAS is. Look at how corrupt African Union is. I mean, corrupt. All officials are corrupt, 100%. That should show you that the whole world is lying in the bondage of corruption. Look at European Union, completely corrupt. First reign the embers of colonialism, completely corrupt. They don't care about democracy. They don't care about the rule of law. They don't care about international law. They don't care about human rights. They don't care about only that. They are interested in kill the people, take their resources, kill the people, take their resources, manipulate everything in the name of NATO. What about NATO? Corrupt. The United Nations, corrupt. What about European Union? I mentioned European Union, corrupt. African Union, corrupt. Commonwealth, corrupt. United Nations, Arab League, whatever, and nations from beginning to the end, whether they are Japanese or whether it's Japan or China or Australia, whatever you call them, the whole world is lying in the bondage of corruption. Corruption everywhere. It's that political corruption, social corruption, economic corruption, institutional corruption, family corruption, spiritual corruption, religious corruption everywhere. Corruption everywhere. Look at what they are doing. Look at what they're doing. Look at the embezzlement that is going on in the world, as shown by Elon Musk in the so-called powerful nation. Look at the embezzlement. Look at the manipulation of. Look at what is going on in both national. Look at how they do thwarted. Look at how they have twisted laws, international laws, common laws, religious laws. Look at how they are twisted human rights. Look at how they are twisting everything. Rules. And the world has become so anarchic. And so anarchism is ruling the world now. Anarchism is ruling the world. To show you that the world is deep neck in the bondage of corruption. Deep neck in the bondage of corruption. Corruption. I've looked at society. Look at lesbianism. Look at transgender. A man is entitled now. A woman is entitled to say, I want to become a man. Or a man is entitled to say, I want to become a woman. Bondage of corruption everywhere. Look at that. Look at gay. Look at lesbianism. Look at what is going on in the internet. Pornography. Technological corruption. Internet. Look at what is going on. Fraud everywhere. Fraud everywhere. Fraudsters everywhere. Fraudsters everywhere. Look at the charade. Look at how the Nigerian judiciary is messing themselves up. Exposing a high degree, not in the corruption, but a high degree of endemic corruption in the bench, in the judiciary. We know that the executive is already completely and totally, immensely corrupt. And we also know that the institutions, like all the institutions, whether the Electoral Commission and whatever, all the departments, completely, unimaginable corruption. But look at the judiciary. Look at it. All corrupt. They are talking about, when they go there, they talk about, religion. How many of them that are religious are going for corrupt-free society? They are all deep in religion. What about traditional rulers? Oh my God. They are deep neck in corruption. They are deep neck in corruption. How many of these traditional rulers are not sacrificing human beings? Demonic sacrifice to stay on the throne. How many of them? How many of these political leaders are not making demonic sacrifice, human sacrifice to stay on the throne? How many of them are not involved in occultism to stay on the throne? How many of them are not involved in satanism to stay on the throne? How many of these religious leaders are not involved in occultic practices? All these religious leaders, all these economic leaders, political leaders, how many of them? All deep occultic office holders. How many of them are not involved in demonic sacrifices to stay there to show you that the whole world is lying in the bondage of corruption? The whole world is lying in the bondage of corruption. If you go to business, even as low as petty businessmen, if you know what is going on there, if you know the level of lies that is going on, even in petty business, among petty traders, small traders, they can lie. You can never trust them for anything. They lies. To do their business, they have to lie there, lie here. Petty business, go to all these market women that are having small things that they are selling. If you just enter them, you will see demonic lies, satanic lies. Some of them are using even small juju to say some things. That is to show you that the whole world is lying in the bondage of corruption. The whole world is lying in the bondage of corruption. What about our artists? Those ones who say they are making music. Those ones who say they are making music, playing football. If you go there, you see demonic sacrifices. If you go there, you see manipulations, corruption everywhere. Whether FIFA, whether African Council for Football, whatever name you call them, they are involved in bondage of corruption. Corruption everywhere. Corruption everywhere. Corruption everywhere. And so the whole world is involved in the bondage of corruption. If you go to Bollywood, corruption, sacrifice, demonic sacrifices. If you go among musicians, demonic sacrifices. Whether you call them Bollywood, Hollywood, Nollywood, you see demonic sacrifices. You see that what they are doing there is unimaginable. To show you that the whole world is lying in the bondage of corruption. I'm just giving you a glimpse. I'm just giving you a tip of the iceberg to show you that the whole world is lying in the bondage of corruption. Corruption everywhere. Corruption everywhere. And you see, this corruption is eating up the fabric of human society. It's eating up the fabric of human existence. If the whole world is not lying in the bondage of corruption, why the weapon of mass destruction? Who are you going to destroy? The target is human beings. The target is to eliminate those who will not agree. For those in the West that say that they have weapons of mass destruction, you know their target? Not only to suppress the weak nations, the weakling nations, and the whatever nations, especially in Africa, that's their target, to suppress them, take their resources, steal from them, rob them, kill them, destroy them. But they also have a mind of fighting the war of Armageddon. Destroy everything that is living on the surface of the earth. That's to show you how corrupt man has become. And what is going to save man is only the manifestation of the sons of God. Follow me as we go to the manifestation of the sons of God.